Waiting to hear if badger culling will be allowed in Oxfordshire. Natural England is considering issuing licences to several new parts of the country to try to reduce the incidence of TB in cattle. Last year, more than 1,300 cows were slaughtered in Oxfordshire because of bovine TB. That's twice as many as the year before. Campaigners are urging political leaders to oppose the move. David Lumb reports.
Marksmen might soon be shooting badgers in Oxfordshire to stop the spread of TB in cattle.
So this is the set here that you were worried about that's been interfered with.
Sets like this one could be affected. Campaigners believe someone's already tried to damage it.
Looks like someone brought a vehicle in here, a bulldozer or something, and literally filled in the holes.
They say extending culling to this area could have a devastating effect.
We could see badgers disappear from this area where they've lived for tens of thousands of years. Scientifically, it's not working. We think it's extremely cruel and it's hugely costly to the taxpayer, and it's not helping farmers. We've seen the government kill nearly 35,000 badgers so far, spend £50 million of taxpayers' money killing them. The vast majority of these animals don't have the disease at all, so you could kill all of them and it will make no difference to lowering the disease in cattle.
That's a claim denied by the government and farmers. The badger cull has so far affected 8 counties. Natural England is now considering further licences. Farmers have been reluctant to speak to us on camera for fears of reprisals, but one told us he'd lost almost half his cattle to TB in the space of a week. The number of cattle slaughtered due to TB in Oxfordshire more than doubled last year. A statement from the National Farmers Union said trials had shown culling badgers could have a positive impact on controlling bovine TB. It said we must use every available option to tackle the disease. Last year, almost 20,000 badgers were culled as part of the government's 25-year strategy. Campaigners are urging councillors, landowners and universities to condemn proposals to extend the cull. Natural England's expected to make a decision on which licences to grant in a few months. David Lumb, BBC South Today.
I spoke to our science and environment correspondent David Gregory Kumar and asked him how successful the cull in Gloucestershire had been.
And it is really those two cull zones from where we get much of the scientific data about how things are working. But the most recent data only takes us through the first 2 years of those culls. And what they show is that where there was culling, then yes, you did see the amount of TB in cattle decrease. And also what it shows is this idea that culling badgers can spread the disease, that was an effect that was seen, but only in Somerset. In Gloucestershire, we didn't see that effect happen. But that is only for the first 2 years of the culls being carried out. So we have to keep waiting really to really get a sense of how things are going.
What was the impact on people living near the cull sites?
Some of the farmers who were part of the cull, I think, found life, particularly in Gloucestershire, very difficult. There was quite an active anti-cull protest situation going on, and I think the policing costs in particular, the amount of policing that went on in Gloucestershire in particular, was a lot more than people expected. But obviously these cull zones have now been rolled out right across the country. That's why we're talking about them. And I think to an extent that has diluted the number of people who are available to take direct action. So I think some of the other zones that were established after Gloucestershire and Somerset have seen a lot less activity on the ground.
People opposed to culling talk about vaccination of badgers or cattle. How feasible is that?
It's very difficult to get an effective vaccine to work with cattle. It's really only been shown that if you use the same TB vaccine that you use in humans, in cattle it's only about 70% effective. That's not good enough really if you're trying to inoculate animals like cattle. It just won't work. The badgers though, it has been more successful, and I think those who thought that maybe vaccinating badgers wouldn't work have been surprised in particular by the number of volunteers who've come forward to help with that effort. So there's no doubt that vaccination of badgers has had an impact, but it's had to be suspended in the past because the vaccine that's used is actually needed for people. There's not enough of it to go around. So it's been effective in many ways, more so than I think some expected, but there are still issues with vaccination.
David Gregory Kumar, thank you. Controversial plans to press on with building 3,000 homes on Chalgrove